All right. Good evening. Tonight's lesson is Aseret hadibrot, dibra number 4, part 3. So to recap yesterday's lesson, we learned about melacha. The word melacha comes from the word malach, meaning that one has in mind the intention and purpose of producing something. This transformation is a malach, the whole process, and the final product is the melacha. So, with your permission, I would like to explain some concepts about Shabbat, and we're going to talk also about the Bet HaMishkan, the Bet HaMikdash, which we can't talk about Shabbat without talking about the Bet HaMikdash or the Mishkan. And I will explain the difference between the two of them. Because we learned the 39 melachot of Shabbat that we are not allowed to do. We learned them from the time that Ben Israel were told to build the Mishkan. Okay, so, and I also realized that I was using certain terms, certain ideas that maybe needed more clarification. So I would like to really clarify all these first, and then explain some concepts about Shabbat, which I feel are very important. And then we can learn about more about the dibra, the commandment itself, about not working on Shabbat, and so on. So the first thing I would like to explain is that, first of all, every time I speak about Chachamim and I say Mishpat, Midrash or the Zohar, so let me explain something. The Torah is like, let's say, you take a diamond. Actually, I wanted to check out something regarding diamonds, but I guess I forgot. I'll try to get that done for the next lesson. So if we take a diamond, we see that the diamond has many facets. You turn it this way and that way, you see that it's different colors. The light reflects on it very differently. One part looks yellow, one part looks blue, one part looks red, white, all kinds of colors, right? It's colorful, and you turn it, the more you turn it, like it gets like a prism of the light, and it's beautiful. It really is beautiful. We say, Shiv'im panim la Torah. Diamond has many sides, right? You turn it this way and that way and this way and that way. The Torah has also many sides. 70 ways, 70 ways how to explain the Torah. What does this mean? There are 70 ways altogether, right? There are ideas that Chachamim had to actually find in the Torah. Nobody can come up with anything, with any idea, without finding a source for it in the Torah. No one, not even Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay? And there are all kinds of just different facets, different looks, look at the Torah. It's not just personal opinions of Chachamim, it's all based from the Torah. So we say that Shiv'im panim la Torah, 70 facets, I mean 7 sides of 70 ways of explaining the Torah. Each pasuk can be explained according to the pshat, meaning simple meaning of the pasuk, the darash, which is, darash, it means there are all kind of sayings or lessons to be taken from a pasuk. Sod, Sod is Kabbalah, and Remez, which is, hence it means that we, Chachamim, were able to find connections from this pasuk to something else, or reference to something else. And Chachamim teach us, En mikra yotze yedei pshuto. It means that we cannot just read a pasuk in the Torah and just say, okay, this is what it means, that's it. Because as I said, Shiv'im panim la Torah. There are 70 ways of explaining the Torah. Now, who are those Chachamim? Those Chachamim, those rabbis, we're not talking about our days rabbis. These Chachamim, if you remember, yesterday I mentioned about the Sanhedrin. These are Chachamim who were part of the highest court of the land. There were also different periods of Chachamim. We have the Tanaim, the Emoraim, the Geonim, and each period of Chachamim, these Chachamim, for example, if we look at the Tanaim, like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was a Tana, Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes was a Tana. Each one of them was able to make miracles, just like Moshe. So that's the second thing I wanted to clarify. The next thing that I would like to explain, and which has something to do with Shabbat, is about the Mishkan. The Mishkan was a tabernacle. It was a Bet HaMikdash that you could take apart and set it up again. They took it apart when the Jews had to travel in the desert, and then they set it up again when they stopped, and for however long they stopped. The Mishkan was standing up. Yosef, stop. Okay, so now we come back. So in the Mishkan, there were 3 rooms. The Bet HaMikdash was built also the same way. So the first room was really, you came into, it's not really a room, it was really a hatzer, a courtyard. In the courtyard, in the hatzer, stood 2 things. There was the Mizbeach Hanechoshet, the altar made of copper, and on it they used to sacrifice the animals. And there was also a huge urn with faucets that was filled with water, and any Kohen who came to the Mishkan to do his work at the beginning of the day had to wash his hands and his feet before he could start his avodah, his service. No Kohen was allowed to do any service without washing his hands and feet. It's called Kiddush Yadayim Veraglayim. The second room was the Kodesh. In this second room, there was the Shulchan, the table, the menorah, the Mizbeach HaKetoret, the small altar for the Ketoret, for the incense. So, the Shulchan, the table, it wasn't just a table, it was a table. On this table, there was 6 shelves on each side, so altogether 12 shelves. And on those shelves, the Kohanim on Friday, before Shabbat, they used to bake a bread. It's called Lechem Hapanim. this bread was this thick, and yet it was not chametz. They used to put it on the shelf of the shulchan of the table. It would stay the whole week on the shulchan, and then the next Friday, when they would bake a fresh batch of lechem hapanim, then they would slide in the new bread and remove on the other end, remove the old bread. Now the old bread was still warm and fresh, and that's what they ate. So they always ate the bread that was baked last week. Okay? The shulchan represents panasa, and that's why there was always bread. They slid it. They didn't just remove the old bread and put the new one in. They had to slide in the new one until someone else was on the other side and to hold on to the bread from last week. That was the lechem hapanim. The menorah, we know the Kohen Gadol used to light it every night. Okay, fill it up with oil. It had 7 branches, 3 on each side and the middle one, and the Kohen used to light it every night. That is the menorah. The Mizbeach HaKetoret was a small altar. It was high, and on it, the Kohen had a very specific recipe for the incense, a specific amount of certain spices that he used to mix, and then he used to burn this on the Mizbeach. So all these 3 kelim were in the Kodesh, the second room. The third room was the Kodesh HaKodashim, the Holies of Holies. In there was the Aron Hashem. It was really a box. On top were those figures that looked like angels, where their wings would be touching. When Hashem was pleased with Ben Yisrael, their wings would touch and they would face each other. But when Ben Yisrael was sinning, so the wings would spread apart and their faces turned away from each other. Obviously, this was a miracle. And the Kohen Gadol was allowed to go in the Kodesh HaKodashim only once a year on Yom Kippur with the Ketoret. All right? So, in the Chatzer of the Bet HaMikdash, the regular Yisrael, regular Jews were allowed to come in, but they were not allowed to go further. The Levim were also allowed to go there, but they could not go further. Kohanim were allowed in the Kodesh, which is the second room, and only the Kohen Gadol was allowed in the Kodesh HaKodashim once a year on Yom Kippur. Now, the Kodesh HaKodashim nowadays is exactly the place where the Mizgad Omar is in Yerushalayim, the big mosque with the golden dome in Yerushalayim. So we are not allowed to go there. We are not allowed to walk there in that area. Okay? Now we come back to Shabbat. The building of the Mishkan, when Hashem told Moshe, tell Ben Yisrael to donate the 15 different types of material that they had to donate, and gold, silver, copper, wool, dyes. There were lots of material that they had to give, silk, and they had to donate, and then they had certain measurements. They had to cut this, they had to do this. they had to measure, they had to sew, they had to weave, all this. So all the 39 melachot of Shabbat, the lametet melachot of Shabbat, the 39 melachot Shabbat, we are not allowed to do. We learn them from when Bnei Israel were building the Mishkan. 39 times in the Torah it says that Bnei Israel, it says you're going to build a Mishkan, either in the same pasuk or the pasuk before or the pasuk right after. It would say ve'et shabtotai tishmoru. You've got to keep Shabbat. So that's how we know that. That's how we learn that there are 39 melachot we are not allowed to do on Shabbat. Okay. Right. I'm going to stop here for tonight, and tomorrow night I'll carry on.